Hey YouTube, this is a deck video for a Dark Simorgh deck. Now, Dark Simorgh is a card that when it came out way back when, I was very interested in playing it, but the only way that seemed viable to play it was with Monarchs, and Dark Simorgh and Monarchs was kind of counterproductive. It was too slow, and it didn't actually provide enough of an advantage, so I scrapped it at that point. But I've recently come into a deck list that I was given at a locals with a guy who also made the top of the locals. And the deck seems solid. It's not the best deck, but it has an interesting line of play. So I'm going to show it to you guys. So it starts off with 3 Dark Simorgh, the basis of the deck. Now, he was playing Doomcals. I don't particularly like Doomcal as a card. I agree it's a better card than Ape Fighter, but Ape Fighter takes the exact same slot that it was trying to take. It's just you need a dark type 1900 attack. You don't really care about much else. Ape Fighter can have a decent impact on the game. It can get pretty big if your opponent leaves it go unchecked, but it's pretty much just supposed to be a 1900 beat stick. 2 Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight pitches cards out of your deck to help you summon the Simorgh. A Snipe Hunter. Once again, helps you get cards out of your hand that you don't want in your hand. 2 Junk Synchron. Junk Synchron is a pretty good tuner. It's a dark type, and there's a few level 2 or lower monsters in the deck that will usually be in your graveyard, so it gets better. A Plague Spreader. A Gen X Ally Birdman. It's another one of those cards that's pretty good and sees play everywhere. After Birdman, there is a Dark-Armed Dragon. You're playing a lot of darks and you have graveyard manipulation. Good card. 8 Gores, self-explanatory. There's a long story behind this proxy of a glow-up bulb, but largely it's supposed to be a glow-up bulb. I only have 1 bulb in my collection, so this proxy got made. Anyways. Now getting into the engine that supports the Simorgh. Neospatian, Granmole. 3 Neospatian, Dark Panther. And 3 Neospatian, Hummingbird. It's a Convert Contact build of Simorgh. Convert Contact is a card that is a spell card. You can only activate it if you have no monsters in play, which is a big drawback, but it sends a Neospatian from your hand to the graveyard and a Neospatian from your deck to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. So if you start with any of the 7 Neospatians and one of these, you do it, you immediately have a Simorgh turn 1. Creates some interesting game states. There's also Crossporter. Crossporter, whenever it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you get to add a Neospatian monster from your graveyard, from your deck to your hand. So it means that you're going to likely have a card in hand for the Convert Contact. After Convert Contact, there's a lineup of the usual staples. This deck also has a Foolish Burial. Foolish is good. You have a couple things that it works on. Glow Bulb, Crossporter, Plague Spreader. There's Miller of Darkness. Considering you're playing at least 8 darks, 8 is the magic number for this card. I wouldn't play it if you have less than 8 darks in your deck. You have some Synchro shenanigans, so Mind Control is a good target. For the traps, Torrential, Mirror Force, 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, a Solemn Judgment, which is a card that I'm against in this format. I just find that Solemn has way too steep a price to pay. and likewise Solemn Warnings. Now this is his deck list that he was playing, and I decided I'd give it to you unaltered. But in this format, I really don't like Solemn Warning or Judgment. Solemn Warning is a very key card, and I agree that you need it with the way that this deck is set up to keep your opponent off the board. You absolutely have to have an answer that will deal with it. So these do it. Once you have a Simorgh out there, it's just about keeping the monsters clear, because they can't play any traps. They can't set them. So in this deck, I agree it's probably the best option. But in general, I'm not a fan of these cards, especially in this format where there's so many OTK driven decks. As for the side deck of the deck, it's pretty much all of the usual staple synchros. One exception to that is Junk Destroyer. Junk Destroyer is a card that a lot of people don't bother playing in most decks. And there's also Junk Berserker, but I don't have one of those at the moment. He played one of each in his extra deck. I can see the use to the Junk Destroyer. I don't even remember what Junk Berserker does, but he recommended it was a good card for the deck. And so that's the deck.